Hey guys, welcome back to Tiny Disneyland. In this episode, we're venturing off into new territory. Well, kind of new territory. But about 2-ish weeks ago, maybe even more, maybe now almost 3, we got a new DLC that dropped. It was the Dinos and Dynasties DLC. So it had a Roman theme and a dinosaur theme added in. And so with the dinosaur pieces, I have now taken the opportunity to fix some certain things in the park. So Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, you can see right in front of you, got a T-Rex upgrade from shapes to actual props. And so when I was doing this off camera, just to kind of fix it, I had the thought, I'm like, okay, maybe I should just decorate and build the diorama from Primeval World. So that was the plan for the week, or the couple months. Well, it's actually been a couple weeks since I posted my last video, but regardless, so I aimed for making Primeval World. So let's get on to the time lapse. That'll show you exactly what I did with the little diorama and used all the new pieces. So this is an exciting one. So let's go. Okay, let's see here. What's the first thing to do? Well, is to start off by building the windows for the tunnel for the diorama, and to kind of get a basis of what I want to do with the Primeval World. But first is a history lesson of the diorama. So the Primeval World diorama was made for the 1964 World's Fair, and it was part of the Ford's Magic Skyway, which is kind of like a People Mover-esque ride. And at this 1964 World's Fair, there was 4 attractions that Disney built. It was the Magic Skyway, the Carousel Progress, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and It's a Small World. So after that World's Fair concluded, the Grand Canyon diorama was moved to the park. I want to say around, let's see, I'm looking at the wiki. I think it says 1966 it was installed. Yes, it was installed right next to the Grand Canyon diorama that was already built in 1958. So I haven't actually explained why I got rid of the Grand Canyon diorama in my park. So in my park, I didn't want to build little animals because I think building animals of that scale, especially in like vanilla Parkitect, would have been very, very difficult. And so I opted not to do that. So I decided to remove that diorama entirely and just stick with the Primeval World. And doing that has now given me the opportunity to do more scenes from that diorama because we have the new dinosaur pieces from the new DLC. So you can see I already switched over to adding an additional desert scene, and then I switched over to adding the lake scene with the long neck. I think it's not a Brachiosaurus, it's actually called or a Brontosaurus. I think it's called something else now, because back in the 60s when the dinosaurs were being built, they weren't actually accurate. So it's kind of funny that these dinosaurs really don't represent what we've discovered now in fossils and records and stuff like that. So these dinosaurs are very, very mythical looking, and so it's kind of fitting for Disneyland, honestly, now, after so many years of it being around. I also there's another history tidbit. I think this diorama represented also there was a Fantasia was a full-length film dedicated to music with animation tied to it, and there was a dinosaur scene in there too. I think it's called the Rite of Something. Rite of Summer, Rite of Spring. And there was a dinosaur fight in there too, like it is in the diorama with the T-Rex versus the Stegosaurus. But regardless, I would say the more iconic diorama is the dinosaur scene. So I just venture on just doing some of the detailing work. So I started with the dinosaur bones for the desert scene. So I took the new pieces we got. We got the Triceratops skull with the ribs and the pelvis, all that good stuff. I'm glad that all the bone pieces can be recolored, because if they were a simple white, I wouldn't have worked with it as well, because I like to dumb down some of the saturated colors that the default colors provide. And then off to building said T-Rex. The T-Rex was kind of simple. Simple for me. Honestly, for a new player, probably not But for me, it was just kind of simple to kind of figure out the pieces, cylinders. I used some spheres. I used the dinosaur skull, the dinosaur feet skeletons, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, feet part. Then I just kind of made it out of shapes and kind of just made with the shape of what a T-Rex should be. The one in the diorama is standing straight up, which makes no sense for a T-Rex. T-Rex is supposed to be more not crunched. It's more like leaning down, more horizontal versus being straight up with their tail dragging. Doesn't make sense, but again, this was way before they actually found out what actually dinosaurs. We still actually don't know fully what dinosaurs look like. We're just still having very, very good educated guess. But regardless, you kind of just see the shape of the dinosaur kind of forming as I continue to mess with certain pieces here and there. And then I often try to build the dinosaur head with shapes, but I didn't feel like it worked out the best, so I opted actually to use the skull from the new pack and just fill in the eye sockets with some spheres to kind of help with the portrayal that is a dinosaur head with skin on it versus a skull. So I did that. Kind of just was messing around with pieces, and it kind of, I think it looks pretty good so far. It reminds me if it's a T-Rex. Kind of very obvious. So I'm just kind of messing around with some of the pieces. Yeah, just simple stuff like that. Yeah, I think I also work on the jaw here. Yeah, the jaw. So, simple. I say it's simple. It's not necessarily simple. It's more of an experimentation here and there when you're especially building things that are organic. You kind of bounce between pieces here and there. You test here and there. Yeah, you can see I'm just adjusting pieces here and there too. Changing the size of the feet. Giving some different ridges and some feel to the dinosaur's back. And I tried to do some red eyes, but that didn't work out so well. So I just went back to opt to do some black dots. And then on to building this Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus was a little bit more difficult to work with because of the angle where I put him and the pose I wanted the Stegosaurus to represent. So in the ride, or in the diorama, he is crouched up into the corner with lava and rocks around it, with its tail kind of swinging toward the T-Rex with its mouth open and looking up. So you can look at tons of images online about that, and it kind of just goes from there. Yeah, so I just kind of tested it out and kind of made that look, and I kind of got the right feel for it. Also, the difficult thing about doing any shaped shenanigans is that the angle of the game really makes an optical illusion, so you kind of do have to keep aware of that. Oh, I did like doing this though. Making the scales for the Stegosaurus was easier than before, especially with the new scale pieces we got from the fossils selection. So I just recolored them, plopped them on to its back, and then called it. It was perfect. And then I added some more lava falls because in the diorama there's like lava falls. And the most iconic thing I find from this diorama is that there are spheres of lava like spilling over edges that are just basically just wheels or logs that are just painted. And so I just try to imitate that with one of the gear pieces from the steampunk pack, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea to just, use that spinning piece to add some animation, even though the dinosaurs don't move. So I'm trying to create that kinetic energy, even though I wish we had animatronics, but maybe one day we will. Who knows? Then off to build the long neck. So this guy was just kind of simple, easy to kind of just put together. I made these environments very, very simple because, again, it is my toy-like Disneyland. Nothing super detailed. You can see some of the new plants I use. There's the horsetail plant we got. We have a Venus flytrap. And then I did this gradient wall thing on all this scenes to give it each individual look. So you have this light blue over here with the lagoon and the long neck. Then you have a yellow for the desert, and then a more of a dark orange for the lava volcano area. So I think this actually worked out really well with that. I did enjoy doing that, and it just kind of completes the look of that this is a diorama. and not a realistic environment. And it helps that the dinosaurs are kind of made out of shapes too. So adding some plants in the dinosaur's mouth to suggest it's eating. I didn't build the baby. I could have built the baby, but I don't think it would have worked. I didn't have enough space here, because at this point the turn of the railroad was kind of impeding my space, and so I kind of had to opt in just to not do it. Oh, and then kind of adjust some of the, looks like I adjusted some of the desert scene. Oh, added more bones just to give it some more look. But also in this build session, I decided to also complete the rest of this side of the park by actually building the roundhouse for the railroad and the monorails. Yeah, and for the monorail. So with the new cheat window we have, especially for Sandbox and Scenario Editor, I disabled ride collision, and so I can now interlock pieces imitating switches. So I just took mini railroad rides and just lined them up, made 4 docking bays for locomotives, and just made switches. This is like the coolest thing ever. It's kind of funny because I made switches way in the beginning of this project, like for Main Street. I actually had to make those by hand. Same thing with like Big Thunder Mountain, but now with the new cheat window, we can easily do that now in vanilla, which is kind of neat. So the roundhouse for Disneyland was a interesting thing. The original roundhouse for the railroad was actually on the west side of the park, near where now sits Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That's where it used to be. It got moved all the way over onto this side of the park. I'm not sure when. I think probably in the 60s or 80s. I could probably look it up. I'm just guessing. Oh, so quick note. This is the transfer track for the monorail or the switch. It's a kind of a slide track that kind of bends into position. So that's how a monorail track switch works, actually. So I did the same thing here. And this is not actually in the right position either. My monorail switch is actually a mirrored image of the real one in the park, because I ran out of space, and I still want to at least have some realistic note to this, even though it's not a real rendition of Disneyland. So there's still that type of detail. I like those details anyway. Honestly, that's what makes Parkitect so much fun, is adding those little realistic nods and details of real life. It kind of just puts it all together for some reason. It just kind of completes the project. So when you add like AC units, dumpsters in the back, hazard lines on the ground, adding like service lights, things like that, kind of just brings builds together. And this building this backstage area kind of also finished this area up, and it kind of now solidifies the railroad and the monorail are now complete. They're not going to be touched now for the foreseeable future unless I find some other cool thing to add to it. But at this point, I think the left side of the park looking to the castle is done. So you have Tomorrowland, diorama, up to Autopia, and then now the roundhouse is now complete. So I did some switches. I wanted to add some switch details, like the lever that would be on the switch, and then trees and stuff to kind of tie it all in. Also, while I was working on the monorail station here, I did have a little thought in my head. I'm like, can I build a small locomotive that would fit in one of the bays? Even though none of the trains in this ride or in the game match the locomotives at Disneyland, and I wanted to make a nod to a locomotive. So I'm quickly going to start working on the CK Holiday after I finish with these light shenanigan things on the roundhouse. So I'm going to venture over to making the fuel tank for the biofuel they use for actually burning fire. To actually make the fire burn, you use biofuel instead of wood. That's what Disneyland uses. And so I finished that, used some cables to kind of suggest that that's the pipe they use to refill the locomotive. And then I decided to actually start working on a little dinky little locomotive. Now, the scale of this track is really, really small in game, because in real life, the real railroad is about 3 feet is the width, is narrow gauge. So it's a little bit bigger, but also the locomotives at Disneyland are scaled down, especially 1 and 2 are actually scaled down to match the buildings in Main Street, because those buildings in Main Street are also scaled down as well. There's this sense of toy look in both things. So I took a skeleton, Stanley here, stuck him down, and then I proceeded to just build it out of shapes. So this was a lot of a trial error, and I've done a lot of locomotives now in the past now, so this is kind of in my wheelhouse. So I'm just kind of messing around, and there's some details that I'm going to eliminate just to quickly build what it should look like and represent is the locomotive. Now, locomotive number 1, which is named by CK Holiday, is my favorite locomotive because it really does look like a old-fashioned American 440, which is the type of locomotive it is. And with its diamond stack, it's very grand looking. And so I think it was the best one to use, even though I had the decision to use the EP Ripley, which is also an American 440, which was Walt's engine. So maybe later down the line, if I feel up to it, I might add EP Ripley maybe in the next bay over, just suggesting that both locomotives are here for maintenance and the rest of the locomotives are out on rotation as the park opens. Maybe I'll do that in the later. I'm not really sure. Just building this alone was about, I want to say it wasn't about an hour, about 45 to 50 minutes of working constantly on this locomotive, switching pieces here and there. Because when this time lapse, it's really, really quick. But in real life, it was quite of a hog, but I was kind of trying to get that look for it. The new star piece was kind of fun to use because I used that on the wheels to give it that look that the locomotive actually has. And then onto building the diamond stack. So I did a different way to did this before. So I just did a cylinder, no, not a cylinder, a half hemisphere with a cone, and then some ridges to kind of give it that rivet look. And then lantern was put in with some of the new the new shapes we had. So with all the new pieces we got, it's been wonderful to make these little creations out of shapes and stuff. So this has been too much fun. So I'm going to let you guys go here. We're going to go take a tour in the park right now. I'll show you some close-ups of the diorama and the roundhouse. So I'll meet you guys over there. Okay, let's show you what I've built. So we're here at the little dinky little, I don't know, Primeval World diorama in the back side of the park. You can kind of see from here. Here's Space Mountain that I originally built in a previous video from a while ago. And here's the diorama. Sits exactly where it kind of is in real life. I mean, there's some, differences in real life. This building's more diagonal, technically speaking, because it's on the curve. And building, especially on this giant curve of mine, it's been kind of difficult, but you can kind of see as we close up on this. We got ourselves the T-Rex, we got ourselves the Stegosaurus, and then the lava kind of spewing over the rocks, and then there's some fire. Then we got some skeletons here with some fossilized eggs. And I do like seeing the train kind of drive by here. It's kind of nice. It's very, very nice. And then we got the long neck, the Brontosaurus, whatever they were calling it back then. Yeah. Okay, the dinosaurs are not accurate. Neither were the ones in the diorama now. And then I just proceeded to just make a very simple backstage area. There's really not much going on back here. Oh, here comes the train. Let's watch one. So here goes the train. Right through. Chugga, chugga, chugga. Going through. The train's actually going pretty fast for this diorama. I wish we could change the speed of the locomotives, but we can't. So there it goes. And then let's go over to the roundhouse. So you can kind of see that this side of the park is all finished. All complete with the trees in place. And everything from Tomorrowland to Submarine Voyage with the Autopia. And then we venture over to the roundhouse. And here we are at the roundhouse with our lovely CK Holiday ready for maintenance and maybe a refuel. Who knows? We can make up any story we want at this point. So I do find this is the best thing that I've created in a while. And I do love making locomotives. So you can kind of tell how awesome it kind of looks. And kind of fits the tiny little scale of this track. And then here's the monorail track with the one of the switches kind of switched for one of the monorails. So I would suggest that maybe monorail orange is kind of sitting back here. Who knows? Because I can only run 2 monorails at a time, and I'm suggesting that they have 3 monorails in total. They would switch out them every other day. Who knows? So this area just kind of is solidified and done. So the next couple projects I can aim for at this point, because this park is, I want to say 70, no, maybe 65% done. Because now I'm just have to fill in the pockets and things that need to be done. So like here's the works of, I was testing out Small World. So theoretically speaking, Small World can sit in this rectangle that I've marked with black terrain paint. This could be the building for Small World. This area over here is Toontown. Casey Jr. Circus Train and what's it called? Fantasyland Canal Boats or Storybook Canal needs to be built. And also the left side of Fantasyland also needs to be built too. So that would be Snow White and Pinocchio and the backside of Village House, which is the restaurant in the land. So I need to build those. So that's another project I can work on. Or I can start working on this side of the park and get this more flushed out and more visually appealing. So maybe either work on the islands of Tom Sawyer's Island, actually just fill it out, because there's actually not much to fill out here. So I have to build the Phantasmic fishing house with a fort in the back from Fort Wilderness, and then kind of define more of the riverbank and then call it. Or I can go way back over here and actually finish New Orleans that I've been putting off for months now, maybe half a year at this point. I could just buckle down and fix this and figure out the problem with this curve. I am having an issue with filling this out because I would have to build more buildings that actually is dedicated for New Orleans to help with this curve and change or just kind of cover it up. So I might have to buckle down and do that and just tie this with a nice bow and then call it, because I do want to kind of finish it. I was putting cubes. Oh, I've been putting cubes down for covering a path. I might have to continue doing that. So I'll do that later. So those are the other projects I can work on. So you can kind of see if I pull all the way back as my frames drop, you can kind of see where most of the projects need to take place is up in the left-hand corner of the park. So Toontown to Critter Country, Tom Sawyer's Island, New Orleans. So eventually I'll stick myself over here, work on a couple more places, and I would say that this park might be done. I don't want to give myself a date because sometimes I get sidetracked on other things. Ideally I would like this park done by December. But if that doesn't happen, I think I see a January or February release. That's what I see right now. So right now, hopefully December is my end date. I can finish all these little things and then release the park for you guys to play around in. Because that's kind of the most exciting part, isn't it? Oh yeah, and then probably, finish building the parking lot or filling in with cars. Honestly, like that's actually like a grunt work thing to do. So I'll do that periodically here and there. Put down a car, place a car, repaint it, all that good stuff. But you can kind of see from here where the park kind of is leading itself toward, and I can finish some of those things. I think I really want to focus on Fantasyland because if I lock that down, if I lock Fantasyland down, I can then focus my eyes on Toontown next. Because some of these places actually are dictating where things go, especially with Toontown and some of the rearranging I would have to do for Toontown. And I have to think what ride I'm using for Roger Rabbit and Gadget Ghost Coaster, all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to leave you guys here. We're going to leave it right here at the locomotive. CK Holiday number 1, kind of just chilling at the roundhouse. So thank you guys for watching this video. I know it's been a while, but I will continue to work on the project because there's a lot more pieces to play with now since the new DLC is out. If you guys haven't experienced the DLC yet, I did post a video a while ago of the pieces involved and some of the showcase parks that I built for the trailer. Go check that out. And just keep an eye on the channel, and you'll see another Disneyland episode eventually. So I'll catch you guys later. Bye.